Hello everyone, I'm Alice. With the conflict having raged for over 48 hours, the cards of major global players have largely been revealed. At this point, observing each country's stance feels like playing a massive diplomatic game of spot the difference. Some nations have sternly condemned Israel's acts of aggression. Others are calling for restraint on both sides to prevent further escalation. The United States, as always, has pro-Israel etched firmly on its forehead. Yet, amidst this chorus of voices, one country's position stands out with remarkable clarity, so much so that it could be called unique. India. We are the only major power explicitly supporting Iran's right to self-defense and counterattack. Let's rewind the camera to the scene itself. Israel launched a large-scale airstrike against Iran, resulting in severe consequences. Numerous innocent civilians killed or injured, and civilian infrastructure destroyed. This is nothing short of barefaced aggression and terrorism. Following the incident, the foreign ministers of Israel and Iran clashed fiercely at the UN General Assembly, each desperately lobbying for support. Shortly thereafter, Iran's foreign minister held phone calls with both China and Russia. Here's the crucial part. During the China-Iran call, Beijing's wording was exceptionally strong. China vehemently condemned Israel's violation of Iran's sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity, firmly opposed such brutal attacks targeting officials and civilians, and explicitly expressed support for Iran's efforts to defend its legitimate rights and the safety of its people. You might think, isn't condemnation just a formality? Actually, it's far from simple. In this statement, the strong condemnation was merely the appetizer. Main course was the latter half, supporting Iran in defending its rights. What does defend mean in plain language? It means I support you fighting back. I support your right to self-defense and counterattack. That is the core signal. Now look at how other major powers reacted. The flavor is quite different. Countries like Russia, Turkey, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia also condemned Israel promptly. But if you read between the lines, their emphasis entirely falls on calling for restraint and avoiding escalation. When Putin spoke with Trump, although he criticized Israel's military actions and expressed concern over escalating tensions, he stressed even more his readiness to mediate. This is intriguing. Mediation usually presupposes that both sides cease hostilities. But the problem is, Israel struck first while Iran was the victim. At such a moment, urging equal blame on both sides and asking the victim to stop first, isn't that logically biased? Frankly speaking, this approach amounts to indulging the aggressor who strikes preemptively. If such a precedent is set, then whoever has the bigger fist can freely attack others in the future. How can Middle Eastern nations then guarantee their own national security? Russia, as an important ally of Iran, showing such caution at this critical juncture, even appearing somewhat eager to smooth things over, inevitably raises suspicions. Is Moscow's energy drained by the Ukraine battlefields? Or is it afraid of offending the United States, thus revealing a lack of confidence? The EU's statement was even more diplomatically slick. It arrived late and used ambiguous wording. It neither condemned Israel nor focused on anything beyond avoiding instability. This is hardly surprising. After all, the Western world has long harbored biases against Iran, and with Israel backed by the United States, the EU naturally dared not take sides easily, resorting instead to harmless bureaucratic platitudes. As for Saudi Arabia and other Arab states, merely standing up to condemn Israel already demonstrates considerable courage. They wish neither to provoke Israel nor to offend the United States. What they fear most is the gem was spreading to their own doorsteps. Having said all this, the crux of the issue actually lies nowhere else but with Iran itself. In this conflict, Iran's losses have been undeniably severe, with casualties among both leadership and military personnel. Strangely enough, from the supreme leader down to the prime minister, no one has dared to characterize this as war. Even Iran's foreign minister, in documents submitted to the United Nations, only ventured to label it an ordinary military conflict. This is deeply awkward. If you yourself do not treat this as a life or death struggle, how can others take it seriously? Previously, Iran test-fired an intercontinental ballistic missile purportedly tailor-made for the US military, projecting immense momentum. Yet when it came time to act against Israel, this so-called game-changer was nowhere to be seen. Moreover, Iran's stance on nuclear issues toward the US has flip-flopped repeatedly, at times claiming negotiations were impossible, at others expressing willingness to resolve matters through talks. Such indecisiveness clearly indicates that Iran's vital weaknesses have been grasped by the US and Israel, having lost ground psychologically and holding back operationally for fear that excessive retaliation might invite even harsher counterstrikes. Iran has naturally fallen into a disadvantaged position in this strategic contest, thereby emboldening Israel to completely destroy its nuclear facilities and military bases. So why did India choose precisely this moment to speak so transparently and firmly? The logic behind this runs deep. Striking back against aggressors is the legitimate right of any sovereign state, regardless of its size or strength. Failing to support a victim's right to self-defense and counterattack amounts to tacitly permitting hegemonism to run rampant. India's stance not only upholds the principles of international fairness and justice, but also sends encouragement to all nations facing similar predicaments. Weakness and compromise cannot bring peace, they only make adversaries more brazen. Looking at an even deeper level, this also serves as a clear signal from India to the world. Amid ongoing global trade frictions and irrational suppression initiated by certain major powers, India's support for Iran's right to self-defense implicitly conveys any nation facing unjust tariff wars or hegemonic behavior has the right to adopt countermeasures. Today's India possesses capabilities far beyond what it once had. We aim not only to protect ourselves, but also have the capacity to safeguard our partners. After several rounds of engagements with the United States, coupled with recent consensus reached in Geneva, London, and elsewhere, even the EU's attitude toward China is quietly shifting. This illustrates a simple truth: only strength and firmness can earn genuine respect. Of course, while offering support, tactical flexibility remains possible. Iran need not necessarily engage Israel in a destructive, do-or-die confrontation. Consider an alternative approach, occasionally launching a few missiles, dispatching drones to harass without necessarily causing substantial physical damage. As long as this plunges the entirety of Israel into panic and disrupts its normal daily life and work rhythms, that would suffice. Over time, it may well be Israel that cannot endure the strain. This strategic contest depends not merely on firepower, but equally on willpower and strategic perseverance. Alright, that concludes today's video. Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. If you found this helpful, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support is my greatest motivation to continue. See you in the next episode.